This is Brent Allen Winters. You can find us at commonlawyer.com, www.commonlawyer.com. But today I'm here with the other elder at In Church, INNCHURCH, In Church, Dan Skattum from Montana. And I asked Dan if he would come on today with us and allow me to ask him questions about his experiences as state legislator in Montana. We want to be relaxed and just talk about what happened and the reality, nothing really theoretical, unless maybe the conversation goes there. But Dan, of course, thanks for coming along with us and doing this. You were state legislator in Montana. What years was that?
It was the 2011 session. Montana meets every other year for approximately 90 days.
And that's it? 90 days a year?
90 days every other year.
Well, they must not think that legislation is all that important.
Well, the citizens are safe for those other periods of time.
Oh, yeah. Well, I think we're laughing because there's truth in what you said. My father quoted somebody, I forget who, but he used to say, "No man's life, liberty, or property is safe when the state legislature is in session." I think that was a quote about the Pennsylvania state legislature, but I don't remember. Well, so every other year, so you served 2 years, is that right? So you were there during 2 90-day sessions.
No, you do. You're elected, and then in January you start your legislative session for 90 days, and then you're a legislator for 2 years. But unless you're on a committee or unless there's a call for a special session, there's no more activity.
Okay.
Very little.
Very little. So you were there for 90 days. And is it true that sometimes if the state legislature meets in Montana, they may not legislate anything that year?
Oh, no. There's several hundred bills we got to go through. And a lot of them are repeat stuff. They just put a different title and the bill number on. It's a lot of repeat stuff to try to get bad stuff in and some good stuff.
So before you go into legislative session, do you get together with your fellow party members or the ones that think like you and during the other 9 months of the year and cock and load yourselves for what may be coming?
Yeah, to some point, there's a training session, and then the different parties have meetings where you pick your leadership and the goals of the session.
Where do you meet?
Up in the Capitol.
So during the other 9 months, you do things as a legislator. You do get together at the Capitol building or the capital of the state and make plans for the time when you'll get into session.
It's not necessarily all at the Capitol. There's different meetings, different times of the year. Mostly, a lot of it was political party stuff.
Uh-huh.
And unfortunately, fundraising and trying to keep like-minded people encouraged and going. As with the rest of the country, the uniparty or whatever you want to call it has quite an effect on Montana too.
What do you mean when you say the uniparty?
Well, I guess the simplest way to put it is they're former Democrats that just can't take the Democrat Party anywhere, but they bring a lot of their thought processes with them to the Republican Party. So
in other words, you can take the man out of the Democratic Party, but you can't always take the Democratic Party principles out of the man. And so when he decides to switch over, he drags all that negative baggage with him.
Yes, that's pretty fair assessment. And I was told when I first got in there that I need to understand the Constitution, and you find that very few people really understand how the state should interact with the federal Constitution, and most state constitutions are not that good, to be blunt.
Okay, and so you're saying that most of the state legislators that you saw did not have a clue, and probably didn't know, and maybe didn't care how the sovereignty of the state government interacts with the sovereignty of the national government.
Yeah, I wish. Well, sometimes I think that they're just totally ignorant about it. If the states really understood their role in the overall general government, the federal government, a lot of stuff that happens wouldn't be happening, to be plain.
Okay, so, and I've heard this said, let me throw out a phrase and see if this is something that captures what you're saying. Very few folk in government understand in the least the nature of our American system.
Sad but true.
Sad but true. So, and that being true, what's the answer to that particular problem?
We just need to keep educating. That's what drew me to you is the excellence of the common law, and I was involved with the National Liberty Alliance also,
mm-hmm.
and you and NLA and other people do a good job of teaching, but it seems to be kind of slow to soak in, or else it's such a monumental job that it mm-hmm. takes a long time. I'm not sure which. Maybe both.
And I'm like you in the sense that I just keep looking and trying to understand more, and understand it deeper. And I figure if I can understand it deeper, maybe I can get across some general first principles that would be applicable and people would grasp. Well, let me back up. So the year you decided you wanted to run for some reason. How old were you?
I would have been 51.
Okay, so you weren't a child. You were old enough to know there was something wrong. What motivated you to try to get your name on the ballot?
A couple of friends of mine, we had coffee, and they said, Dan, you need to run for the state legislature. It'll be the easiest thing you've ever done.
Well, were they lying to you?
I'm not sure if it was intentional or not.
All right. Oh, they were lying, though. Or they were telling you the truth.
They left out a lot of stuff.
Okay. Well, why did they say it was easy? Because they thought that the election, people would elect you easily?
I'm not sure. It was a pretty long shot that I got in. I ran against it was either a 2 or a 3 year term Democrat, and the folks that helped me a lot. Well, we worked hard, and I think I won by 7 or 8 votes. We had a recount and everything else.
Oh. So did you ask for the recount, or did the other fellow?
No, it's close enough. When it's that close, well, I maybe did ask, but it was paid for by the county.
So when it's so close, the law mandates a recount.
Yeah, and it might have been my opponent that asked for the recount.
Oh, okay.
It really hurt them that they got beat by a farm boy, I guess.
Yeah, and how long? You were in one term?
Yes.
Well, you were unpoliticized at that point, didn't know anything about running for office?
Yes, correct. Yeah.
And so they said, do it. And so what'd you do? Go down to the courthouse and try to figure out ask them what you're supposed to do to get your name on the ballot?
No, the folks that helped me, one of them was a former legislator in the same district I ran in,
Uh-huh.
and we thought quite a bit alike. So the unions, the teachers' unions especially, he ran another time or two and didn't get in, and I did the same thing, and I didn't get in again in that same district. So the unions and the Democrats, they don't tolerate that very well.
So you were in, it was close, and they said, we're not going to let this continue. So they went all out and spent a lot of money and to defeat you in the next election.
Correct.
Yeah. So you were in there, and while you were in there, it was, well, let me back up. I'm getting ahead of myself. When you went in to office for the legislative session, you were injured physically.
Yeah, I got hurt at work. I fell on the ice and broke my tib-fib.
Yeah.
6 or 7 days before the session started.
So how did that affect you going into the session in January?
I was on crutches, and my wife had to do just about everything for me.
How long did that last?
Oh, it was about half done before I even got off the crutches, and I switched doctors, and I didn't do therapy. Well, that doctor didn't have me do therapy, so my foot got pretty stiff.
So, Dan, you were injured. You slipped and fell on the ice just before the legislative session started. You couldn't do much anything for yourself, and your wife was helping you. So how did your wife go along with you to the legislative session so you could put your shirt on and do all those kind of things?
Yeah, I could do my shirt and stuff like that, but she had to carry stuff for me. And
did she do that? She carried it into the legislative session?
Oh yeah, spouses can come on the floor. They're pretty particular who gets to, but spouses can. And then she had helped me get into the different meeting rooms and stuff.
So she actually went through the legislative session with you?
Yes. The
whole 90 days?
Yep.
Did they let her participate in debate?
She didn't want to do that. On the House floor, only the legislators get to talk. Committee meeting rooms, that's when the public can talk, and anybody can do that. That was where you sort out the liars a little bit.
Oh, so the committee and breaking out in committee is maybe a large part of the time you spent as a legislator?
Oh yeah, that's where the work of the people's really done. You go through all the bills that are assigned to your committee, and you have a hearing, and that's where the opponents and the proponents come, and then you have to sort out who's telling the truth or who's not, or that's where a lot of the pushing forward and mostly killing of bills happens, is in the committees. Okay,
so people come in and give their testimonies, in other words, and make presentations from the people from the public. And you can tell some of them are full of baloney and some of them aren't.
Yeah. A lot of lobbyists, and quite a few ordinary citizens come if they're interested in that particular area.
And then you either kill the bill or it goes up for a vote. And then, so what committees were you on?
I was on Judiciary, Health and Human Services, FWP.
Did you get to decide what committee you would be on?
Like, I had a little bit of input, but people that understood how I think and act, they wanted me on the Judiciary. That's where a lot of the bad bills are killed, for the Republican side anyway.
Well, can you give me an example of having served on the Judiciary Committee? I assume you were serving with a bunch of lawyers. Is that true?
Quite a few of them were lawyers, yeah.
Yeah. And so what kind of things happened there that were dangerous?
That year we did a lot of work on a personhood amendment. You got to soft through it. It's abortion, pro-life stuff.
Oh,
We didn't do real good, but we did get a little bit good stuff done. But we killed a lot of bad stuff.
did you kill bad stuff by a majority vote on the committee? Is that the way it works?
Yeah, it moves through the committee on a majority.
So after all that, and you got through that session, it came time to run again. Did you decide to run again?
Yes.
And how did that go? And you said something about it a little bit before. They all went all out to defeat you, the union and the abortion crowd went all out to defeat you. How did that go? Was it just campaigning like you did before, or did it take a different turn because of the onslaught against you?
They had my voting records, so they would twist it and contort it to their message. I'm a farm boy, but they would portray me as anti-property rights and, primarily taking away, supporting private property rights over public access and stuff like that. I wanted to ruin the river and all kinds of stuff.
You weren't concerned about clean water, clean air. You're a scoundrel, and you hate your mother and father, and anything they could say, you were about as rotten as they come, I'm sure. Is that right?
He sounds like an experienced voice talking.
Oh, yeah, I've been there, done that. Oh, yeah. What I discovered was, and I'll ask you if this happened, I was portrayed as a fella who was for rich people. And like you, I'm off the farm. I'm the farm boy. And like I said, when I was running for office, they'd say that to me, and I'd say, look, do you know anybody running for public office that when he gets up in the morning, he can't open his door on his porch of his house because goats are leaning up against it? And that was the truth. I was milking goats then. Well, of course, they didn't want to talk about that. But no, I was portrayed like I was for the rich man and not for the small man. That's the way it goes in politics. But you ran hard. Did you spend much money?
Yeah, for that district, we spent quite a bit of money. And by then, the people that liked me, they supported me more, the different PACs and different folks.
Uh-huh.
But,
was the second race close?
Not as close as the first one.
So you made a respectable showing, but it wasn't enough to win.
Correct.
So after then, were you asked to run again, or did that kind of end your legislative career?
No, I ran 3 times, and then I skipped a year or 2, and then I ran one more time.
So the party encouraged you to try to get back in if you could.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And
yeah,
they still
party is they think like us.
In Montana, the Republican Party. I see. Well, we're going to cut it off here. There's a lot of other things that we could talk about. Yeah, thank you that's helpful. And I understand things that I didn't understand about you and what you were doing as a legislator. To recap, you served on the Judiciary Committee. That apparently stuck out in your mind because you talked about it. And of course, I wanted to know what happened there, and I'm curious to know, how did you get on the committee? I suppose the party wanted you to be there for some reason.
The marijuana was a top contending issue that session too.
I see. Well, oh, was it? Okay, yeah. Things don't change much. What? What's that?
That was dealt with in the Health and Human Services Committee.
Oh, okay, and you were on that one.
Yep.
And I'm sure that there's more you could tell us, but because I appreciate you coming on and discussing it with us, again, this is Brent Allen Winters, commonlawyer.com, www.commonlawyer.com, and this is myself and Dan Skattum, the other elder in church, and we're discussing here briefly today his time as a legislator in Montana. Thank you, Dan.
Thank you.